I was, doing a little bit of prep for the show today. I was going about my business. Next of all, I get a notification on my phone telling me that Ireland has a world boxing champion, that TJ Doheny has been crowned the new IBF Super Bantamweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot about TJ before I got this notification on my phone, Kieran. There would have been a time when the news of an Irish world champion at any weight would have been greeted with a huge amount of rapture. And yet this has almost slipped under the radar. I didn't even know he was fighting in Japan.
Yeah, well, I think it has. Like, bar a few pieces in various media, and Mick Foley had a good interview with him in the Sunday Times Sunday, for example. But more or less, and like the main boxing writers, which there aren't very many of anymore, have been tracking his career over the last while. But he has flown under the radar. And one of the things that's interesting, like if you Googled him earlier when you got that text, you would have found he had no Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
But now he has one. Someone's put one up, so the last couple of hours. But that's how, like, a guy is fighting for a world title, and everybo's in Wikipedia. You're probably in Wikipedia.
I don't think I am.
You will be at the end of the show.
Wikipedia stoops to the odd low here and there, but they haven't gone that low. Yeah. Why a Thursday afternoon? Well, certainly from an Irish time point of view, why?
Well, it's in Tokyo, so you have a time difference.
So it's a Thursday evening in Tokyo.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, perhaps that's, I don't know the ins and outs of it. Maybe that's a common fight night in Japan for some reason. But just to put this into context, like this guy, he was good enough. He beat Carl Frampton as an amateur, but he never won an Irish senior title. His goal was to make the Beijing Olympics, but the guy who stopped him in Ireland, so he couldn't get onto the qualifiers of the World Championship, whatever, was John Joe Nevin.
Okay.
So that was the kind of competition he was up against. And he says himself in that interview with Mick the other day that, he was a bit of a brat, basically, was the word he used, and he decided, to get a clean break, get out of Ireland. So he went to Australia, and people would be quite sceptical about the Australia boxing scene. But he's come through that.
In terms of its standard?
Yeah, that it's just not quite up there. But he worked his way up, and by all accounts, his dedication the last few years has been unreal. And I watched the fight today, and like he beat, this guy beat, I'm not sure the pronunciation, Ryosuke Iwasa.
Yeah, Will will have it down.
Okay. The reigning champion.
Will's been practicing it all afternoon since the news came through.
But the reigning champion, I think he'd fought in that venue, 20 times or something in his career. So it's like beating an Irish champion in the National Stadium. To go over to Tokyo and to get the verdict in a very tough fight, like it's a remarkable story. And it's a strange time for Irish boxing, because there are three world champions at the moment, Ryan Burnett and Katie Taylor as well. And Paddy Barnes actually fighting for a world title on Saturday. Yeah, and you talk about this going under the radar. Paddy Barnes
I'm presenting off the ball here tonight, and we do like to project a sense of some knowledge of sport and the way the sport's going in any given week. But I didn't know Paddy was fighting this weekend.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I know it's a different time, I remember the week before the first Collins Eubank fight, and pretty much that's all anybody wanted to talk about. Even going back in more recent days, I remember the build-up to Bernard Dunn's title fight, because it was the same week as Ireland were...
that was contesting with a rugby...
In the Grand Slam with Cardiff. And you just want to talk about the rugby, and you wanted to talk about Bernard Dunn, and it went down as one of the greatest days in the history of Irish sport. And yet here we are, Paddy Barnes, one of the best-known sports personalities in this country. An Olympic superstar. And he has worked his way through the professional ranks to the point where he's going with a world title belt on the line this weekend, and I didn't know he was fighting. Now, how has that happened?
And he's getting a shot at a world title in his sixth pro fight, which is amazing. And, well, you can go into various reasons, but the main reason is what's going on with MTK, the artist formerly known as MGM.
Yeah.
And all that's gone in with it, with the ban and the boycotts, because of media coverage of the Daniel Kinahan connection. And that has led, like, I know I don't cover any of the MTK fighters now, like, even without interviewing them. I think I would have an issue with it at the moment.
Yeah.
Because there's a lack of honesty about what's going on. And like, I did an interview with Billy Walsh to tie in with 10 years into the Beijing Olympics. But I thought, well, I had Billy on the line. I'd ask him about the MTK thing. And he came out really strongly. We ran a piece on it last week. He said, how can people with these kind of questionable links, and you're looking at where the money is likely to have come from, how are they allowed to get involved in our sport, as he says? And, the reason more people aren't speaking out is they're afraid to speak out. And this is, you know, it's dangerous territory. And I do feel like I knew Paddy for a long time. And I have a great time for Michael Conlon, Jamie Conlon, a lot of people at Frampton, a lot of people that are involved in MTK. And I can see boxers why they go there, because they're well looked after.
It's a good
they're
setup.
well paid. There's a very professional setup. But it's also a very questionable setup. And like I was at the thing with Katie Taylor a few months ago, and Brian Peters, our manager, because he's always asked, why isn't she fighting in Dublin? And he said, guard the advice not to fight in Dublin. It's not even the fact that they might have MTK fighters and undercard, which might cause a problem because of incidents that have happened before, but also because big pro boxing bills are a magnet now for some gangland figures. So it's just this. I think this is the only capital city in Europe that can't host a major pro boxing bill. Like the small hall shows that go on, and a lot of people doing good work on that. But that's a big problem for boxing, because in many ways boxing is booming in Ireland still, even though it's not getting the publicity it did a couple of years ago. But this is the massive elephant in the room. Yeah,
it's kind of sad that we could have a world champion and just the fourth current world champion come the end of the weekend, and it'll just fly under the radar, just like TJ Doheny has flown under the radar.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that latest offering from Off the Ball. If you want to subscribe, and you should, check out just up here. All our latest stuff is just down here. Generally, knock yourself out.